So overall, throughout my code, I used a lot of variables, if statements, loops, lists, functions, try except, testing, and formatting. So over here at the beginning, the user inputs their name and then it stores it into a variable, which is then sent to the getName function. And getName, so it takes the name variable and then it will return the welcome message in the form of an F string. So hello name. And then over here, which weapon, the user will input the number of the weapon that they want to choose. So let's say that the user inputs a 1, then it will return weapon of choice is gun. So as for if statements are used everywhere to, let's say if the location equals Toronto, then it will bring you to the Toronto function. If location equals house 1, then it brings you to the house 1 function. And over here, which weapon, let's say that if weapon equals 1, it will return gun. If weapon equals 4, return weapon of choice is hot dog. And also, if statements are used everywhere to make sure that the user inputs a valid response. So let's say over here, if run equals 1, then it will break. If run equals 2, must pick up the key. So then it will loop back and then ask the question again. And as for else is used to make sure that you print a valid message. So let's say if the number is not in this list, then it will print invalid. As for loops are used to make sure that valid responses are entered. So over here, are you ready? It will try so let's say integer equals, the user inputs 1, then it will break and then go through the rest of the code. If the user inputs anything else, it will print invalid. And over here, throughout the whole code, let's go down to house number 3. So over here, once you guess the password to the chest, it will loop around and then keep asking you if you want to fight the monster. And then if you input yes, it will move on. He has 5 health left, and then throw down at a monster, and then you win. Also, for guessing the password of the chest, it's in a whole loop. So every time that you enter a letter, it asks you again for a new letter, and then you have a max attempts of 6 guesses. As for lists, I use lists throughout the whole code. So over here, let's say each house is lists basically. So it takes the letter that's entered and then it stores it into a list. And then it makes sure that once the list fits the word, then you basically guess the right password. As for functions, I used functions, a getName function, ready function, which weapon, and then each house. And also a Toronto function, which is basically the main lobby. And try and accept is used to make sure that the user inputs a valid message. It's throughout everywhere. Let's say that it will try to see if the inputted weapon is in nums. So basically this list, and then if it's not, it will print invalid. And also for lists, I did this over here. So if the number that is inputted is in this list, then it will continue on with the code, and then it will also append the weapon that is chosen and then store it into the list. As for testing, these are the tests that I made. So all the tests pass. It basically is the getName function. I did a test for that. And then test ready, test which weapon. So it's test for all of that. And then as for doc strings and formatting, over here I made a little annotation over here. So if weapon equals 1, then weapon basically equals gun. And then over here I use doc strings. Let me find it. Over here, which weapon, it determines the user's weapon, and then the argument of weapon, choice of weapon, and returns weapon choice. So that's it. I'm trying to stay under the 5 minutes, so thank you.